Welcome to StudySync 103, Enriching StudySync with Nearpod and Edpuzzle. A few reminders of webinar and meeting etiquette. And so far this week, it's been very impressive, the conversations and the questions that have been asked in the chat room. So just really stay focused on asking those questions there. It's really helped us to hone our presentations. So once again, this is StudySync 103, Enriching StudySync with Nearpod and Edpuzzle. We have split the presentation today into two parts. Oops, that went fast. Where did it go? There it is. Today's session is brought to you by Rachel Howenstein and Scott Nunes, who are monitoring the chat room and will interrupt to ask questions. This is Amy Phillips. I will be sharing Nearpod, and Amber Youngman will be sharing Edpuzzle. So let's get started with Nearpod. Okay. To log into Nearpod, we start at the staff applications page. The district does have a Nearpod license, a district license. So when you log in, when you click on Nearpod, you do not need to sign up for an account. You can log in with your MCS Google account. Again, you do not need to create an account. You have one as an MCS employee. When Nearpod opens, it will default to your library, and you can see that I've played around and I've added some things to my library, but you can also create your own Nearpods. We are not getting into that today. At the end of this section, I will share with you when those Nearpod classes are being offered next week. All right, so we suggest that you go into the Nearpod lesson library the first time to really explore. And when you're in the Nearpod lesson library, you can search by standard, you can search by subject area, you can narrow that search down into grade or grade span. And so since we're using Nearpod to enrich or enhance our standards-based StudySync curriculum, then you can search by the standard that you want to either, your students need a little more help or review to get a little more student engagement. Again, you can search by subject area, by grade, and even by resource type. You couldn't see this one on the previous screen. Is it something, just a warm-up? Is it virtual reality? Do you want to take your students on a tour? Is it just a skill builder, kind of that refresher? Okay, so again, you can click by standard, by subject, by grade, and by resource type. For example, I searched for tone for 8th grade. All right, and I came up with all of these options for tone. Some are strictly 8th grade lessons that have been created by ReadWorks or Explorations. Nearpod has partnered with a lot of different providers to put this content on their platform. I did another search using theme for 11th grade, 11th and 12th grade. Again, I have a number of options that I can explore a little further. All right, and so perhaps I find a lesson that I really want to take a closer look at. I can just click on that title and take a closer look. All right, I can preview the whole lesson And often what I have found is the next slide is kind of an overview of the lesson, any prep work that you might need to do, or any of the assumptions that this lesson makes. You know, for example, this is a matching, it's practice and review. So it will list the terms that perhaps the students have already learned. These are the terms that will be matched and the definitions as they're worded here in this Nearpod. And if I like this one, I can add it to my library. Adding it to my library makes it an easy step to put it into my Schoology class. All right. So again, you can search by standard, or you can search by subject and grade. You can, on the home page, even type in perhaps the title of the story that you want to review with the students, and there might even be something there as well. Are there any questions about how to find different lessons on Nearpod?
There are currently no questions coming into the chat window.
Okay, so then to put a Nearpod lesson into Schoology, it's pretty slick because MCS has that district account. Nearpod is already linked to your Schoology courses. And so when you have that lesson, that Schoology lesson, or I'm sorry, that Nearpod lesson that you want to add, you simply go to the class that you want to give the lesson to, click Add Materials, and then on the right, you can select Nearpod. Now, when I click Nearpod, here it is, it pops up right away, my library. So if it's something I just put in my library, it will be here at the top. And so here I was looking at point of view earlier. Here it is right here at the top. All right. I can also use this scroll bar on the side because maybe I have lots of folders. Maybe it's one I've used in a previous class or a previous year. And I can search everything in a Nearpod right here on this window when it opens. And what I do is I find that lesson that I want and I click on it. And here I either can start a live lesson or I can start a student paced lesson. And I just think that right now in this distance learning, we aren't requiring our students to go through their classes like they did when they were on campus. So this student-paced option is a really good idea. And when that Nearpod is chosen and you select student-paced, here it shows up in that class. All right. And you'll see that it has the tool, that it's an external tool. The students click on the title, like any assignment in Schoology, and that Nearpod lesson is right here. Okay, now I was in my teacher account when I did this, and so I started to play around with like, what is this notepad over here and pen? And it's just a place for me to keep notes. Not so much for the students to keep notes. So they join the session. All right. Since you have embedded it, they wouldn't need a code. It's going to send your students straight to the session. So they just need to join. And the nice thing is that students do not leave the Schoology platform. They complete the Nearpod right here. We've had Nearpod in the district for a while now, so depending on how much you have already used it, I do it was kind of fun to go through and play a couple of them, and also to play with some of the virtual Nearpod options. And again, this is just kind of an overview of what Nearpod can do and how it can support our StudySync and distance learning. In the distance learning resources folder, Nearpod is suggested for, as an optional assignment. And if you want more in-depth information about building your own Nearpod, we have 4 sessions being offered next week, and they are there on the screen, and they are available in the PD catalog. All right. Are there any questions about Nearpod?
Yes. Amy, let's see. Let me scroll back up. The question came in, can you save these resources, save these to your Schoology resources so you don't have to go through this process each time you add a Nearpod to a course?
I believe you can, and I will check into that while Amber's presenting.
Actually, Amy, if you don't mind, if I kind of
hop in
here a little bit. While you can save the Nearpods to your resources, Nearpod still on their end has a code even for self-paced lessons, and those codes expire pretty much after a month unless you change that to be something different. And so like if you wanted to reassign this, that code would no longer work if it was in your resources. You would have to do it all over again. And then if you're thinking about the reports status of it too, all of your students, if you had done that, would be on one report. And if you wanted to break it up by classes, it would be just a little bit harder to view that. So while I think technically you can do it, I don't think I would recommend it.
Thank you, Amber.
All right, I believe that was our only question that came in regarding Nearpod at this time.
All right, so Amber, are you ready to start sharing?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So your screen's gonna change for a little bit real quick while Amber pulls hers up.
Okay, are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi guys, this is Amber Youngman, and I'm here to talk with you about Edpuzzle and how you can use Edpuzzle to enrich your StudySync lessons. Let me make sure I'm going here. Awesome. Okay, so very much in the same way that you would log into Nearpod, you would log in to Edpuzzle. For those of you that don't know what Edpuzzle is a tool in which your students can view videos, either through YouTube, a video that you have created, a video that you have found, any video basically, and you can input different types of assessments into it for students to answer. So they would be watching the video, and then the video would pause, give the students a predetermined question that you have created for them. They have to answer that question, and then it would continue on. So it's a pretty awesome tool. Unfortunately, we do not have a district account through Edpuzzle like we do with Nearpod, but you can access this through our MCS staff apps page. You would just go to MCS for Kids and then apps and find Edpuzzle on there. You do have to create an account. So on that page, you can click the sign up button and sign up using your Google account. And obviously you would sign up as a teacher. Your students, in order for you to collect the data, would also need to create free Edpuzzle accounts as well. So before you even assign an ed puzzle, I would convey those instructions to your students, either through Schoology. I would put a tutorial video up for those of you who have younger grades, and just instruct them to create a free account, also using their single sign-on. When you create an account through Edpuzzle, you have access to a plethora of different activities that other teachers have already created. These are videos that you can basically borrow. I was going to say the word steal, but as teachers, we are the best borrowers. You can borrow them and even add your own activities or use the ones that have already been provided. You can search for different curriculum through different types of categories, whether it's popular channels, things from YouTube. You can even put TED Talks on there. You can search by subject like literature or language arts, or you can just simply pull a YouTube video that you like from YouTube and create your own content. When you are able to find your content, you are going to want to put this content into a class on Edpuzzle. Before you can even start thinking about putting this into Schoology, which you can, just like Nearpod, you want to have the class in Edpuzzle first. So on the top bar of your Edpuzzle account, you'll see different areas, and you can choose My Classes, and then you'll be able to create a new course from there. You can give that course a name. You can add a description if you want to, and you're going to want to make sure that you have the classic type in order to make sure that you get the data from your lessons. I'm going to pause at this time. We kind of went through a little bit there, including creating accounts and creating classes. Are there any questions from anyone?
Amber, there are currently no questions about the content that you've presented in the chat window.
Wonderful. So we'll go ahead and move on. Again, we're not getting in depth into Edpuzzle at this point in time just because it would take more of this meeting. We're definitely talking about how we can use Edpuzzle to enrich StudySync. So for example, I've used Edpuzzle in conjunction with a StudySync assignment that has a really deep historical content or in-depth historical content, and I thought my kids needed just a little bit more enrichment in that area. For example, I'm doing Animal Farm with my students right now, and if I wanted my students to complete a small summary about the Russian Revolution, I would have found a video on YouTube, put it into Edpuzzle, put in questions that I wanted my students to think about or answer during this video, and then send it out to them. Okay. So once you have an assignment created or an assignment in mind, you want to put it into Edpuzzle first. And while your students can complete it through Edpuzzle, there's a lot more safety in putting it into Schoology instead, much like doing an embedded Nearpod that Amy was just talking about. So if you want to put an Edpuzzle assignment into Schoology, what you would do first is put it into your Edpuzzle class. Let's say you found some content in the Edpuzzle library that you wanted to assign. When you click on it and go into it, you'll be able to see on the right-hand side what types of questions are there. And then underneath that, you could assign that to your Edpuzzle class. It does have to be in your Edpuzzle class before you can add it to your Schoology course. From there, you just choose what class in Edpuzzle you would like to assign it to. I highly recommend making a test class first, just so you can see what this looks like. So I would have put it into my test course. You could also add a new class from here. I don't know if you're seeing that at the very bottom of that page. You can add a new class from here if you decided that you wanted to create a test course from here. You would give it all of the normal functions that another assignment would have, such as a due date. And then Numbers 3 and 4 are very important on this slide. Most of the time, students can absolutely just skip videos, and that means kind of just going to the questions and seeing if they can guess. I want them to watch the whole video. So number 3 is preventing skipping. I want to make sure that that is toggled on, so my students are in essence forced to watch the entire video. And I always make sure that I want to turn on closed captioning for my EL students. Many YouTube videos already have closed captioning involved directly on there. It's not an absolutely perfect system, but it is very helpful to have for a lot of classes that I teach. Once you assign it, you're going to find it in your classes in Edpuzzle. And you'll see that that assignment is already in progress. And now I want to grab that assignment and put it into Schoology. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually click on that assignment itself. And once I'm in that assignment, I'm going to see a whole list of options that I can do. And the first one I want to pick is share that assignment. When I share that assignment, I want to make sure I grab the embed code. That embed code is any embed code actually is what you need in order to put it into Schoology so that the students don't leave the Schoology page. You could just give a link and students would then be taken to Edpuzzle, but if I wanted to keep the sanctity of my Schoology course and make sure that my students aren't roaming around the web without my supervision, I want to just make sure that everything I put stays in Schoology. So I would need to grab the embed code for that. You can change the size of what this would look like as a video, small, medium, or large, and you can also change this into Schoology. Before I show you how to actually put it into Schoology, now that I've grabbed the embed code, I want to go ahead and pause for just a second and see if there are any other questions.
There have been no questions in the chat window regarding the content.
Wonderful. Okay, so we have our assignment, we have our embed code. So now I want to go to Schoology. I want to go to the course that I want to put this Edpuzzle assignment in, and I want to add it as a new assignment. When I click on Add Assignment, if you're in Schoology, you know that you have a description box that you can type in information for an assignment. On the editing bar of that box is my single most favorite button in all of Schoology, and that is the Insert Content button. This is a magic button in Schoology. It looks like a square with an arrow pointing into it, and this is how I embed anything into my Schoology assignments, YouTube videos, other assignments, other projects, and including Edpuzzle itself. Now, because this is an embed code from the web and it's technically a video type media, I do want to click on image/media to insert in that content. Now, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound like a lot of clicks, and it is. Schoology is working on trying to negate the many clicks that you have to make, but once you start using Schoology more and more, this becomes very second nature and almost like breathing. I could feel like I could do it in my sleep now. So you click on image/media, and from there, you have a couple of options. It's going to default to upload media, but you want to upload this from the web because it's found on a website. Uploading media would just be something that you already had on your computer and not live from the web. So because this is an assignment from the web, we want to click from the web. And this is not a picture. So in type, we would not put image, we would put media because it's a video. And then once you click on from the web and once you click media, it's going to give you a button or a space where you can paste that embed link that you now have. Once you copy that code and paste it into the embed link, you're going to go ahead and click on insert media, and Schoology will insert that embed code into that assignment. Now, it's going to show up as a big pale yellow box. And so you're not actually going to be able to see the content until you post the assignment. This is just showing you how large this content will look like in your Schoology assignment. And you can click on that yellow box and drag it out or in order to enlarge it or minimize it. When you click the rest of your assignment, you would give it a due date, you would give it a point value like you normally would. It's going to show up at the bottom of your assignments page. And then from here, you can put it into any folder that you would like. And I've kind of screenshotted how it would look in my Schoology course with number 1, and it just is titled what I titled it, Ed Puzzle, Do You Get Enough Sleep? When students click on it, the second window is what would show up for them. So the Ed Puzzle is right there, and all they really need to do is click Get Started. It might ask them to log in, and again, if they're already part of your course, then they would just log in using their single sign on Google and move right on into completing it. It's pretty seamless, and it's pretty intuitive once students kind of go through the flow. And I wanted to, again, go ahead and stop there and see if there are any questions.
Amber, I don't see any questions right now, but can you talk about where you see the answers to the questions that are asked during Ed Puzzle?
Yes, absolutely. So once you want to get the data for this, you are going to have to go back into that Ed Puzzle assignment, not on Schoology. So that's where you would grade all of the answers. You'll see all the list of your students there. And I really wish right now that I would have put a screenshot into it, but I didn't want to put in my students' names here as well. And you're able to grade it from there, and you can export this into Schoology as a grade. You could manually enter it into your Schoology gradebook. You could put it in your Power Teacher gradebook, but all the data for this, including what students answered, how much they missed, and your grading ability, is all within Ed Puzzle.
Thank you.
Just waiting for any other questions. And of course, if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach any one of us. Our emails are displayed on the board right now.
Amber, the question has come in regarding the types of questions that can be embedded in an Ed Puzzle video. Can they be open-ended, multiple choice? Are the multiple choice self-graded?
Yes, let me go ahead and get back to that thing. If you notice on this slide right here, on the right-hand side of my screenshot, you can see a couple of different question types that I have there and the point time in the video where I've put them. So you are allowed to have open-ended questions, multiple choice questions, and I believe poll questions. I normally stick to just multiple choice and open-ended. The multiple choice will grade itself if you mark that down as a right answer, and you would have to grade the open-ended questions yourself because they are subjective.
All right, that's the only question that has come into the chat window at this time.
Wonderful.
So once again, if you have not already taken care of your attendance, please do so. Again, the purpose of today's webinar was just to make some resources available to you that, or share with you these resources that are available to you on your staff applications page. both Nearpod and Edpuzzle are mentioned in the StudySync and distance learning unit for curriculum maps that are found in the Schoology distance resources folder. And again, however, also it's not a complete listing of absolutely everything. We just went in and found a few that we thought were appropriate and fit. But please, if these seemed interesting to you, explore them a little bit more. And for Nearpod, check out the webinars that are available next week. And if you'd like more information about Edpuzzle, then please let us know, and we'll see if we can't get a more fully developed how to create your own webinar for you in the future. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to go ahead and leave the webinar. This is what we had for you. Are there any more questions?
I do see one. It says that they didn't get a chance to sign up for the other courses. Are there distance learning units in Schoology in an open class for all to view, or do we need a code from you? And do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
Okay, so with StudySync for the other webinars, we have videos which are up on YouTube. In a moment when I'm done talking, I'll go ahead and throw a link to that YouTube channel. And then in terms of the Schoology items, I'm blanking right now on how to get to those courses, but I know Mike Rich sent out an email with the course codes for those. And if you still need them, just reach out to me and I can give you the individual course codes specifically for Schoology, and it's a self-paced course.
Okay, and then I'm gonna try something new, Amber. If you will stop sharing your screen, I will share mine. About getting, let's see which, I think it's this one. Let's see what shows up. Oh, everybody went away. All right, here we go. So a few things in StudySync in the library, because I think I heard two questions. When you log into StudySync and go to the library and look for units, everyone should be able to see the distance, the different grade unit 4 for distance learning. So those are available to everyone that has a StudySync account. And then for the Schoology resources, if you log into Schoology, get there in a moment, and at the top, if you go to groups, if you are a 9-12 teacher, you should have the distance learning resources. And for 7-8 teachers, you do need the code to join that. And either Rachel can put it into the chat if she has it handy, or you can email us and we will get you the code that you need to join this group. And here in that distance learning resources group, there are the curriculum maps in the 7-12 ELA folder by grade level. Right here at the top, I know that 7th, 8th, and 9th have been updated through the end of the year. I'm not sure about, haven't checked 10 through 12 yet. But here you can see that on grade 7 for distance learning, when we're talking about point of view, either as an additional or as a supplement, or I mean, as a replacement or a supplement. There is a Nearpod that covers the same information, and also an Ed Puzzle that is the same content, same standard. And so perhaps you want to give your students, get them out of StudySync one day, you could put them into either a Nearpod or a point of view, and you would know that you were still getting that same standards-based instruction. Does that clear up the question? All right, well, again, thank you for attending. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to leave the meeting. Also, please feel free to contact Rachel, Amber, myself, or Scott with any questions that you have about Nearpod or Ed Puzzle, and we will do our best to answer your questions.
Is it okay if I ask a question instead of typing it?
You bet.
Thank you. I'm not a classroom teacher. I'm a librarian. And so I don't have classes. But if I were working with a teacher, it looks like all I could really do is like pull the resources and email them to the teacher that they could use this, this, and this. I can't really, because if I share it into my resources, then it doesn't get embedded. Am I understanding that correctly? And so the kids would have to log in, and like the passwords and the codes and all that stuff wouldn't work, right?
Right. You would want that to go to the students through this teacher's Schoology course.
Okay. I thought I was understanding that right. I just didn't know if there was a workaround. And I see teachers could make me a co-admin, so I could add it in. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I will say this, they can make you a co-admin, which is awesome. And you could put in a Nearpod assignment from like your Nearpod account in there. But then remember that the students who are completing that Nearpod, their results, their reports would go to your account and not the teachers. So just keep that in mind.
Oh, that would be a problem.
Yes.
Okay.